Here's my honest reality check for those that are listening.
So the big question is, what are the top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams, and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? If you ever thought about this, you're not alone. No one has been able to get the answers until now.
We spent the last few years helping agents sell billions in real estate, rubbing shoulders with top producers, which got us thinking, how can we expose more people to these insights to help raise the standard in the whole real estate industry? We then realized that we could help bridge the gap by getting the secrets from the best of the best so that you can succeed. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Elite Agent Secrets Show. Today we've got Alicia Jarrett all the way from Australia. Now, she's been doing real estate for over 15 years, runs 3 different real estate-centric businesses, is in a huge stage of growth right now, has a team of over 13, and just this year alone has done over $1 million in land assets, which is something we're potentially going to jump into today. We're going to be covering marketing, customer experience, building teams, building a global business. The game of real estate has changed and is going to keep changing, and that is what the show today is going to be about. Alicia, thanks for jumping on with us today. We can't wait to open up.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. It's you're so right. I mean, I always say that if I can do this from the other side of the world, like we're obviously mainly investing in the US at the moment, but if we can do this from the other side of the world, and I often joke too that we've done real estate deals in the French Alps whilst we were skiing, and we've done real estate deals from a yacht in Croatia. So you can literally be global and be anywhere. And I couldn't agree more about that concept now because times, they have changed. So thanks for having me on, guys.
It's going to be an exciting one. You're going to bring a little bit of a different perspective because you are, like we do, me, myself and Peter, have and indulge in this global enterprise now. I mean, you know, Peter produces at a local level, but our organization is global, as is yours, and you indulge in the benefits of global investing and things like that too. And I know you're probably a lot further ahead. You maybe are the end result of people listening to this that they want to achieve. They're like, listen, I would love to be investing and doing all these deals and just, you know, collecting checks, growing a big team. But let's take it back 15 plus years ago, whenever it was, how you got into real estate, how we got here.
Yeah.
And then let's walk through your journey to give people a bit of perspective.
Sounds great. So when we say 15 plus years, that really started in Australia, so over here. So my partner Matt and I, even before we met, we both had investment properties here in Australia. But I don't know if your listeners know this, but it's really interesting that in Australia, real estate investing is seen as something completely different to what it is in the US. So over here, you might buy a couple of rental properties and put some tenants in them, and then you do what's called negatively gear them. And I know this is familiar, Andrew, with what some people also do in the UK as well. So basically what that means is the properties are costing you more than what you're getting in rental. And the negative difference between that you use to offset your income taxes. So we started doing investing in real estate. We were both in relatively high paid jobs. So, you know, 6-figure jobs here in Australia. So you're at the highest tax bracket. So using investment properties to reduce your taxes and then claim like the capital growth of those properties was a strategy that a lot of people used. But here's the thing. It's a stupid strategy. It's, you know, you're always having to outlay cash to make up the difference for things, and then you just get it back at tax time. And apart from the capital growth of the property, it really doesn't serve much purpose. So we just started to both go, what are we doing this for? Like, really, has Australia just got this only strategy? And are there other things that we can start to look into? So about 5 years ago now, we left looking at Australia as our real estate market. And the other thing for your listeners as well, the entry point to real estate over here is crazy. So just in Melbourne, where we live, in Melbourne alone, the average property price, I'm talking average, I'm not talking affluent areas, I'm talking middle urban areas, average family home has just gone over $1 million. So just to even enter the property market and land, you like people literally line up and camp overnight when land is released. So when they do new subdivisions, it's nuts. So we were looking at the market and going, well, let's look global. Let's look to different markets, but also let's think about our strategy. So we needed to make sure that there was a strategy that we could do different types of asset classes, that we could easily work remotely from another country, that we had access to the right information and data and people to be able to execute that strategy. And we just kept coming back to the US. Because the other difference, as well as you guys would know, is the US, and for anybody listening who's doing property in the US and thinks it's difficult, here's the point that I want you to listen to. Be so grateful for some of the things in the US that a lot of other countries don't have, and that is access to data, access to people's information. You can find out who owns what property, how long they've had it, are they behind on their taxes, are there any nuisance liens on the property, is their mortgage inverted? Like, you can pretty much find out anything and then use that as part of your target audience. We don't have access to any of that information over here. So we started to investigate the US 5 years ago when we started. Quick sidestep and funny story. I remember I went along, I said to you guys before, my business prior to doing what we're doing now is I had a consulting business, and I also did public speaking and training for a living. So I would often go along to events where speakers would talk about their businesses and, listen to things. And I love that. And I went along to this specific event where a couple of different speakers from around the world were talking about different businesses and different markets. And one of them, whose name I cannot remember, but he was talking about, this was probably 6 years ago now, at the point where doing fix and flips for homes was all the rage. And HGTV had just started to launch, Chip and Joanna Gaines and all of those people. And he was talking of it not just from a business perspective, but also about the opportunity to help communities where banks had just walked away. And I thought, you know what? That all sounds pretty good. So I came home and said to my wonderful partner, Matt, honey, I've just signed us up to do a real estate course in the US. And he's like, you've done what? And so being the healthy skeptic, right. Yeah, being the healthy skeptic in our relationship, he's like, you know what? I'll go with you. I'll wait until lunchtime on day one. And if I think that this course is a load of crap, I'm out of there. I'm like, all right, no problems. So we go along to this course. We get to lunchtime on day one, and I turned to him and I was like, what do you think? He's like, oh my goodness. I had no idea. Like, we'd already started to look at the US, but we had no idea about how many strategies you could use, how you can approach the market so differently to what you can over here. That led to us a few weeks later buying our first house for about $17,000. It was a triplex, so it was an old house that had been broken into three. We then put a team in place and boots on the ground team in place as well. And we did a rehab on that property, put tenants in it, and sold it for about $40,000 profit, 6 weeks later. And we went, well, that was easy. If we can do that, what else can we do? And we did all that from here. We didn't even see the property. So that led us to do a few more houses. But then, and here's the big but, I think for anybody listening, no matter what asset class you're in, you need to realize that all property goes through cycles. Even the market goes through a cycle. And I think for single family homes and for those that are doing fix and flips and rehabs, we noticed that the cycle had shifted even in the short time that we were doing it. And the ability to get a good off-market deal in the space of a couple of months literally changed. It was becoming so competitive. So everybody wanted to be in the fix and flip game. And then competing to keep contractors was also an issue as well. So we said, okay, this asset class is about to go through a change. So we said, let's not ride the change. Let's look at a different strategy. And then we switched to land. And a lot of people listening might be going, land, that's pretty unsexy. Like it's a piece of dirt. What on earth can you do with that? But you can do lots. And it's because the US allows you to do so many different marketing approaches and strategies on the exit side with land that has seen us now. We mentioned we've got a team of 13. 3 of those are full-time customer service people in my land business that do all of our seller calls and negotiations, all of our buyer calls and negotiations, and I'm just working with our boots on the ground title companies to close them. So, yeah. So the land business is going great, but we did change asset classes partway through, and it was the best decision we ever did because that's that's now led us to build other products and businesses as a result of doing land. So that was a pretty long story there, guys. Sorry for the length of that, but yeah, that's where we're at now.
So it's interesting you say that. I mean, it's commonplace, for example, Peter's Miami way. I mean, the land there is ridiculous. And obviously now they're just building tall. So we got the same problem. Everyone's in New York, which is where I've spent a lot of, a good chunk of my business life out there. Same problem. Land is, you can't get hold of it and they build tall now. And it's just everywhere, especially the closer you get to cities. If you can find a plot of land, holy hell, the money that's in it is outrageous. And then if you've got a good set of developers as well, so you can take 2 bites of the apple, so you take a cut off them as well, like the numbers just start to get astronomical very quick. I mean, we've spoken with a bunch of incredibly amazing realtors. There's a guy called Matt Bazal, who's known as the $1 billion man, and he just does pre-con. And this is what he focuses on. He's like, find the developers, they've got the land, they basically throw up the idea, and he pre-sells these whole towers of people probably buying land off people like you who are like wanting to develop it. And it's an interesting thing because of the scarce commodity of land now, it goes quick, real quick.
Depending on the area that you're in and the type of land that you get, absolutely. Like when we get a really good infill lot in a fantastic area, we put it out to market and it's gone in a couple of days. Sometimes we're getting really big lots that we're talking to developers about, and we don't want to do the hard work that they do. We're like, here it is. If you want it, go and take it. And interestingly enough, most of our deals this year, and again, talking about whatever asset class you're in, being really aware of how that asset class is performing, both on the sell side and the buy side. So we've noticed a change in our buyers just this year where a lot of people are now wanting acreage. They're wanting to get out of the big cities. This is when you're not dealing with developers, but you're dealing more with, the
100% families.
Yeah, the families. Yeah. The political unrest, COVID, all the stuff that people have experienced over the last 2 years, the target now is acreage. They want
100%.
5 to 10 acres upwards to go and build their own little family compound and get away from it all. So, markets shift all the time, and you've just got to be aware of that and really lean into the supply and demand of that.
Yeah, I mean, between California, there was a mass migration to Arizona, and then New York. I know a bunch of people, and a lot of them went to Texas through the whole presidential switch, tax. I think the big thing, there's like things on the whole pandemic side we can be kind of obviously sad and then also grateful for. One of the big things is this new world of like remote living. Yeah. And some people have just kind of realized that actually they don't need to pay for the office space. Their workers genuinely are producing the same quality of work that they need, at least from wherever they want to live. So now it's like,
not better, I would say.
Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting one, right? Because their happiness, at least initially, will definitely rise because it's like, I get this freedom. Long term, I don't think we've got any data on the effects, whether like things will teeter back down or whether they'll continue to rise. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But the one thing it has enabled is, for example, in like New York's an example, say London's another example, people now don't need to live there. So now they're taking New York money and going to, say, Texas. And, what you can buy in New York for $1 million, you're buying huge compounds in Texas for the same money. And they live a much better quality of life, far better quality of life. And I think this is one of the things that we can be grateful for. Also, it's allowing those areas to develop faster, right? Yeah. Because people are going, this is actually a great city to live in. I want to live in Dallas, right? Yep. And then all of a sudden Dallas starts growing and being like more and more of a hub. I think the beauty of it is the weird ones, quote unquote weird, will come out like someone wants to go to Wisconsin or something where it's not a known place to go, at least not for me, but they'll start booming because all of a sudden it's like, actually it's a beautiful place to live and loads of tech people start migrating there. And all of a sudden there's tons of money there. And you're like, how is this happening? It's like, there's this new exposure. You don't need to live in Silicon Valley anymore, right? This is a thing of the past.
I completely agree. And I know when we started investing in the US all the way from Australia, we were getting the crazy looks from people like, you're doing what? And now all of a sudden it started to become normal. Like we've got one of our secondary businesses, guys, is a real estate investing marketing business where we're focus just on real estate investors and helping them with their marketing solutions, because a lot of real estate investors are great at doing the deals, not so great at doing marketing. Interestingly enough, in that business, we've got customers doing business in the US, in Israel, Spain, Germany, Singapore, South America, Canada, all over the world. So it really is a global business now.
I think that's a nice caveat to dive in. I know your first topic we're discussing today is marketing and customer experience. So let's expand on that. What you mean, and let's open that topic up.
Sure. So what I mean by that from a customer experience point of view. So let's just take it back to a lot of real estate educators out there. So every asset class has a real estate education system. We all know that. No matter what asset class you're in, there's somebody out there that is spruiking, come along and do this course and learn how to do that asset class. What we know, then, we know a lot of educators out there as well. What we know is that they teach you the basics. So they teach you how to go and pull a list for your asset class, how to market to that asset class by sending things like direct mail. And that's about it. And the other thing that I notice is when a lot of real estate investors sit down and do their strategy for their business, they're thinking through the lens of themselves. How many deals do I want to do? How do I want to get my sellers? How do I want to handle those sellers? And et cetera, et cetera. In order to be really good at business, you need to be more in the shoes of your target audience. And that is, from the marketing perspective, how am I going to open up numerous marketing channels so that whatever target audience I'm going after, they can do business with me in a way that suits them and is easy for them, not in the way that I want to do business. So I'll give you an example. If I'm just sending out direct mail and expecting to get all of my deals through direct mail, that's called craziness. Because we're now dealing with sellers that are in their 80s and 90s where direct mail works. But our youngest seller has been someone who was 19. He was in college in California. He inherited property in Florida that he didn't even know was in the family. He found us online. We never spoke to him. We did all of our contracts online with him. He emailed my team. My team emailed him back. I think they might have done 1 or 2 phone calls with him to find out some information. But other than that, everything was done virtually, and he found us through an ad on Facebook that came up online. So, I think when we think about customer experience and marketing, we need to be creating mechanisms out there that encompass both the online and the offline, that no matter what seller we're going after, giving them the opportunity to do business with us in a way that suits them. And that's what I mean about customer experience, because so many people just expect one marketing channel to create miracles for them, and it's just the wrong way of looking at it.
I love this. I love this topic. So
I could talk forever about this, Andrew. Sorry.
I mean, this is kind of like right up what we do too, right? Like that's the realm that Andrew and I come with. That's why I know he loves this topic, is because at a core principle of ours is finding the customer where they're using or where they're hanging out at.
Meet them where they're at, right, guys? Meet them where they're at.
100%.
And there's so many real estate investors out there that aren't thinking through that lens. So we've got a bit of a mission to help shift that mindset for a lot of people and hence get them better business results too.
Yeah, it's the whole real estate market. This is the thing. It's realtors, brokers, title, mortgage. It's everyone. It's the industry. And this one thing, the big reason for this podcast is because the education system. I feel generous calling it an education system for real estate. If I'm honest, I feel that it's a generous term, but the education system for real estate, it's not a fucking education system. Let's be honest. Everyone here can be honest with themselves. It's a pile of shit, right?
Yeah.
So
people pay a bucket load of money to get minimal information, and then they finish their course and go, now what? And did you know, guys, sorry to cut you off there, but a really quick stat. The real estate educators out there across all asset classes, do you know what the success rate is for students that actually ever end up doing anything and making some money?
1%.
I reckon it's less.
It's actually 5%. So, okay, you thought differently to me. It's 5%. But even that for me is like, that's too low. That's way too low. That's 95% of people out there that are doing all this education and getting nothing from it or doing nothing with it because they don't feel equipped. And that's crazy. I just think that's such a disservice.
Most people also get into the analysis paralysis stage, right? Where it's like, I have all of this information, but where do I start? It's like, just fucking start.
Yeah. We have a saying in our team, which is done is better than not done. Just start.
Yeah, I love that. I think one of the things that's interesting about the coaching, the reason I thought it was lower wasn't a guess, because I've done the marketing side and the course side. In fact, we're releasing we've got like a course and education we're putting out. It used to be like a coaching program as well.
Yep.
And one of the scary stats of it is I think it's 92%. I could be wrong. It might have changed a little bit, but it's something like 92% of people who buy a program never finish it.
Yeah.
And it's something like the average, if you've got a course, it's something like the average amount of a course that's watched is like 10%.
Crazy,
right?
Isn't it?
Like, it's crazy low. So it's not that people can't get results. It's that people like the dopamine hit of buying stuff.
Yep.
They love that hit and they're like, I'm going to do something. And then they get distracted.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying I haven't done it. I've 100% bought courses and not done them. Definitely.
Same. But here's the other thing I want to add to that. And here's my honest reality check for those that are listening. There's so many people out there that want to get rich quick. It's, that course sounds amazing. I'll do that course. It'll take me 8 hours and then I'll get my first deal in the first month. Reality, that shit ain't happening. You got to do the course. You got to do the hard work. You've got to overcome the obstacles. You've got to push through, and you've got to have a mindset of continuous improvement and don't give up, because that's what happens. People are like, yeah, I've got my get rich ticket. No, that shit ain't real.
Well, and this is why realtors, myself included, since I am one, have this big, gigantic target painted on their back, because all of us know, we all spend money on shit that we probably don't need. We spend money on the same thing 15 different times because it's the shiny new thing that we're trying to get.
Shiny new thing. Totally,
right?
Rita. Yep.
And it's literally the same thing, just packaged a little bit differently. So it's not that we don't want the result, is we just have to stay hyper focused on the result that we want, and actually commit to executing, learning, and acquiring the required skill set over a long period of time.
Correct.
I think the numbers are like 10,000 hours before you can quote unquote call yourself an expert, or you really master a skill.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to shoot a great 3-point shot in basketball, do that shot 10,000 times. I think there's, and Andrew knows this because I always screw up all of the sayings and all this other stuff, but I think I may get this one right. Andrew, you ready?
You're going to go for the home run one, aren't you?
I hope so. But Bruce Lee had a saying, I don't fear a man that did 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man that did that one kick 10,000 times.
You nailed it, buddy.
There you go.
Yeah. I heard that one.
We're guilty. We're guilty of not doing that, right? We're all guilty of this.
Yeah, I think it's with what we do, and like, this is why it's important, because it does. Sometimes you get lucky. We actually had another investor on, another Andrew actually, on a previous show, and his first few deals, was his first big deal, literally went completely south, and it basically completely bankrupted him. And now he is, really becoming extremely successful. And he one of the things he mentioned on his show is he was like, I actually pity people whose first deals go really well and there's no mistakes, no errors. He's like, because when it hits, it's going to hit so fucking hard, they ain't going to know what's hit them. Yeah. He's like, I got all the shit out the way straight away. And now he's like, stuff happens to me now. I'm like, not as bad as what I went through before. Like, and he's off to the race.
I know. I love that, because there's so much learning from growth. And I don't look at things that get stuffed up as bad. It's like, well, that's growth. How do we grow? We grow by learning. Our first mailer that we ever did for our land business, we were in such a hurry to get stuff out and get going that we put the wrong phone number on it. Some poor lady in Florida was actually getting all of our calls, and we were like, well, that's not successful because we're not getting any responses, until she finally found us and called us a few weeks in, and she's like, have you guys stolen my identity? Who the hell are you? And we ended up, long story short, we had a great conversation with her, and we are so sorry. Now we see that there's a number that's literally back to front, 1 digit, they're out of the wrong way. And so she was worked in sales, and we said, well, can you do us a favor? can you just take all our calls for us for the next few weeks while this mailing happens, and just email me every day with the leads, and at the end we'll cut you in on some deals. And it worked out well. But there's always
Amazing.
a way to recover from shit that goes wrong.
Sometimes life gives you lemons. You got to make the lemonade.
That's right, Peter. That's right. But just if we can wrap back as well, guys, I want to wrap up that whole thing about people that pay for all these education things and then get paralysis of analysis and get stuck. They're our target market for our marketing business, because what we actually do with them, the very first thing we do is sit down and help them with a business plan. Let's get you unstuck, and then get you on to what do you need to just do to get started and get happening. And it's really rewarding to see that, because I know how much time and money people have spent on education, and it's awesome to help them get up and running, which is great.
Oh, 100%. I think that's again why, me and Peter, we've been in the agency space as well I've been doing it for a long time, the best part of 10 years. And there is a place for both. The whole coaching and course and stuff, there is a place for that. And there is a place for people who just want to get it done and get the result, and they're happy to pay for a professional, which is ultimately, it kind of rolls us on actually into the next point, which is, you can do it yourself, you can pay someone, or you can build a team. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. Now, before you go, we're giving access to a private training we did where we revealed the top 3 niches to get listings today completely for free. So if you want access, you can go and download that training at eliteagentsecrets.com. We're regularly releasing new trainings, guides, and cheat sheets, so make sure to head over to eliteagentsecrets.com and sign up so you don't miss out.